Hey peeps, so last video I uploaded with the kind of account overview, I realized I had made a fairly big mistake, and this video is going to kind of go over what that was. So right now what I'm showing you is a little chart that I made after doing some thinking and realizing what I had done wrong. It shows the required number of skill ups for each particular monster that has a second awakening right now. So like if you take a look at the Wind Warbear, you'll see it's got 12, and all the rest of the Warbears have 13. So like I said last video, I had a whole bunch of wind Inigamis, this guy right here, that I was going to second awaken to feed to Bella, or another awakened wind Inigami, or any of the other Inigamis that got second awakened. But the wind Inigami takes 14 skill ups, and as I was thinking, I realized, hey look, the fire Inigami takes 6 skill ups. Isn't that going to be a lot more monster efficient? So then I looked through it and it's like, yeah, I didn't know the numbers right off the top of my head, but when I was looking, it's like, that's a lot more, efficient food-wise. So then I actually went through, these are all the second awakenings and how many skill ups they have. Guess I already said that. And this is what happens when you convert the table over to show the lowest number of skill ups and then how many more skill ups that particular monster is versus the lowest. Didn't do this with math, probably could have. So all of these are manually entered, but I'm pretty sure I got them all right. So, yeah. Fire Inigami, the most efficient food-wise for second awakening purposes because it has the least amount of skill ups. Most of the other monsters are not quite as bad as the Inigamis because after that it's like 4, 5, and 8. So, but the rest of them aren't too bad. Like, if you're going to be using Warbears for second awakening skill ups, all of the Warbears other than Wind only take 1 additional skill up. Same with the fairies. And, some of these monsters, like the Warbear and the fairy, have 2 stars in them, so they're easier to come by, in theory. The Inigamis you can farm from 2 areas, so it didn't set me super far behind. I wasted a few Inigamis and a bunch of wind essence, but it's not stuff that's super difficult to find. So I guess Wind Warbear, Fire Inigami, Wind Fairy or Light Fairy, and accidentally miscolored that square. Yeah, Wind Fairy or Light Fairy, Wind Pixie are the best for the original second awakenings. Werewolf's got 3 that are the best food-wise: Fire, Wind, Dark. And Martial Cat is an interesting case. Like I said, I had miscolored it. The Light Martial Cat is actually the most efficient food-wise. It requires the least amount of skill ups, but it's also not an easily accessible monster. So water and wind are pretty accessible. Dark has the same number of skill ups as them, But if you're going to be feeding Second Awakenings and you have extra light martial cats, they're actually going to be the best bets. But, you know, wind and water are pretty good and a lot more accessible than those. Like I said, this chart's just for the food efficiency to Second Awaken so that they can be used as skill ups for another Second Awakened in the same family. Doesn't really take into account like how easy it is for you to run the Second Awakening dungeon with that monster as part of the team. So like, you know, let's say Wind Pixie, you can barely complete, you know, you're completing 5 unless it's got a Wind Pixie in it, in which case you can only complete 4, then it takes more time. So it's not taking like completion of the dungeons into account. It's just for the number of monsters you have to feed, which I know some people have tons and tons of monsters and tons of summons, but some people don't, and some of these, like werewolves you can farm, Inagamis you can farm, but some of these don't really have a farming location, like the martial cat comes to mind, so you can only get them from summons, and, you know, we don't all have thousands and thousands of summons to grab martial cats from. So, yeah, this chart is probably going to be useful as I start doing more and more Second Awakenings, and hopefully other people find it useful as well.